President Trump welcoming the mayor-elect of New York, Zohran Mamdani. President Trump stepping in to keep things from going off the rails.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Fascist, just one harsh Mamdani campaign label for Trump. And the son of Queens, now turned president, happily returned those insults. Remember, calling Mamdani a communist, a disaster, and threatening to withhold billions in federal aid from the city. But this very, very different day included the president sounding as if he'd be happy to move back to soon-to-be Mamdani's New York.
Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
Now, we all know from experience it did not have to go the way it did. More than a few others, with those who've clashed with the president, those meetings have not gone well. Just ask Ukraine's president.
I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out.
Many thought this also might be a slugfest, especially given what each has already said about the other.
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford, where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
This guy is a communist at the highest level, and he wants to destroy New York.
I will not be intimidated by this president. I will not be intimidated by anyone because my job here is to serve the people of the city.
This communist from New York someday gets elected. I can't believe that's happening. That's a terrible thing for our country, by the way.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
Yeah, all that happened. In the end, though, for reasons we'll talk about with our very New York accented political panel tonight, the two men appear to have decided that, at least for now, it is better for their constituents and themselves to be seen as the kind of unlikely pair, maybe, that only a city like New York can produce. That said, some of the moments today were truly remarkable.
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought.
I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
So we're going to work together.
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. I'll be cheering for him.
Didn't mention anything about America or...
I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. I think I met with a man who's a very rational person.
And now, even more evidence this love fest has a shelf life. Take a look. These are new photos of the visit. The president just posted them on his social network with the words, "It was a great honor meeting Zohran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York City." Wow. Perspective now from the executive committee chair of the New York State Democratic Committee and the president and CEO of WIN, Christine Quinn, former senior advisor to President Obama, and our CNN chief political analyst, David Axelrod, and Republican strategist and CNN political commentator, Michael Singleton. David Axelrod, to you first. You've been in some awkward and some interesting and some fascinating Oval Office meetings. I had this morning, my bet was that this would go actually pretty well because it's in the interest of both men to delay any fighting until the mayor's actually in office. But I did not have on my bingo card Donald Trump saying, "Oh, yeah, sure, hey, call me a fascist. I don't care." Why? Why did this play out the way it did?
Well, first of all, did you have on your bingo card that the week would begin with him calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor and would end with him embracing Zohran Mamdani? It's been
there's a disruption in the
quite
force.
A week.
Yes,
it's been quite a week. Look, I think you were right. I do think it was in both their interests. I think Mamdani made the right move by asking for the meeting, and then he made another good move by showing up and really searching for areas of agreement on which they could work together. He can be a very charming guy. The New Yorkers discovered that, and I think he brought that with him. But he also, I thought brilliantly, for example, focusing on dealing with overburdensome housing regulations in New York so that you could build housing more quickly. That was going to be an idea that Donald Trump would embrace, saying, yeah, we do want to get violent people out of our city, and there are 170 laws that on which we can work together with you on these immigration issues, but we don't want innocent people being harassed. He came with a strategy, and he understood Trump's psychology, and the combination of deference and understanding that psychology produced the result you saw.
So, Christine, how do you build on it is the challenge for the new mayor. He needs help from the governor and the legislature, the assembly here in New York, but he also does need help from the president. The president had said if Mamdani won, he'd withhold billions to build the tunnel, for example, a tunnel New York needs. How do you take all these good words, the tapping, the backslapping, and what would your strategy be, what your advice to the mayor-elect be to say, now turn it into substance, turn it into money, turn it into support and cooperation, not fighting?
Well, look, he needs to continue to reach out to President Trump. President Trump likes when people call him for advice. He likes to get phone calls from people. He needs to use him as a sounding board, someone he seems to be getting advice from. And look, I'm not at all surprised that this meeting went well at all. Donald Trump is a New Yorker, and it is in his interest to see the city that helped him make his fortunes succeed. He also is always very impressed by people who do well, who can command a moment. And certainly Mamdani has done that beyond anybody's expectations of what he could do. He's a political outsider. Trump was a political outsider. I think he has a lot of respect for that. And I think today's meeting was handled by both of them brilliantly, and it really creates a foundation where the mayor-elect can go back to the president and say, hey, when we talked about housing, I need this. When we talked about the price of groceries, I need this. When we talked about X, I need Y. And I think Mamdani, who is amazingly charming, is going to be smart and strategic and continue to call on the president.
Well, wow for the city of New York and its challenges if they can actually have a productive relationship. But Michael, we're watching those pictures and listening to the president's words, and then he adds more tonight on Truth Social about rational guy, liked it, happy to meet him, proud to meet him. What happened to the Republican strategy of this guy is a socialist, the entire Democratic Party is socialist, don't vote for the socialists in 2026? Did Donald Trump just blow that up?
I look at this a little differently, John. I have to be honest. Look, it's going to make things more complicated for Elise Stefanik, who's running for governor in the state of New York. But what I think strategically the president has just done, he just disrupted, I would argue, Democrats' overall messaging strategy next year on affordability and the price and the cost of living. I think the president can make the case that Republicans can work with progressive Democrats who, by the way, don't typically get along with their sort of Democratic establishment friends and say, hey, if they can't work with you, Republicans will where we can on affordability. Let's cut that red tape. Let's decrease the level of restrictions in New York to make housing more accessible. And by the way, let's also employ more native New Yorkers, young men, to build those houses. So the strategy doesn't go away. The strategy changes, John, in that 2.5 weeks ago, we got our butts kicked by Democrats at the local level. We lost 2 states. Mamdani got elected. The American people made it clear. We elected Republicans on the guise that you would deliver on affordability and the cost of living. We haven't necessarily delivered. So what did the president do smartly and wisely, in my opinion? He's adjusting, he's pivoting, and the entire Republican Party should get behind the president to tackle the demands for the American people. If we do so, I think we can maintain that very unique coalition that gave us that majority last November.
We'll see if you're right, but a whole lot of ads planned by Republican ad makers just hit the cutting room floor. David, Michael mentioned Elise Stefanik. She is running for governor here in New York, and Trump was asked about her criticisms of the mayor-elect today. Take a listen.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't, but she's out there campaigning, and you know, you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of
She's a very capable person, but you really have to ask her about that. But I don't particularly. I think I met with a man who's a very rational person.
Stefanik responding tonight, David, on social media in part saying we'll have to agree to disagree on this one, and again calling the mayor-elect a jihadist. Again, did the president of the United States just pull the rug out from under her?
Yeah, no, I think it makes it more complicated for sure, and especially if this relationship continues. But I love the observation that, you say things when you're campaigning. Boy, do you ever. You look at these two guys. I remember, you remember Mario Cuomo used to say you campaign in poetry and govern in prose, but really these days, apparently you campaign in battery and govern in prose. They beat the hell out of each other, but they both have an incentive, as you said at the beginning, to work together. And I just want to second what Christine said. You could see Donald Trump looking at Mamdani as he did and saying, the guy's got moves. The guy is good. And, he's always been sort of the producer in chief, not just the commander in chief. He is the casting director, and he always comments on how people do on TV and how people perform. Well, Mamdani's a good performer. And as Christine said, another guy who came from the outside and humbled the establishment. And I think Trump respects that.